I would like to welcome Mr. P.S. Ranjan from Ranjan & Co. And Ms. Sharon Kaur from Faculty of Law. And the chairperson for this forum will be Mr. Lam Rui Hui, President of Medical Society of Malaysia. Just a note of reminder, audience are required to switch off your phone or turn into silent mode, just not to disturb the forum session later. I'd like to pass this session to Mr. Lam Rui Hui.
A very good morning to all and to the panelists and the audience. Today's forum is on medical legal issues, doctor-patient relationship. The first panelist is Professor Kulendran Arugam from Medical Education and Research Development Unit, Faculty of Medicine. He has LLB from University of London, UK, MBBS from Singapore University, Singapore, a Master in ONG from Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, London, and PhD from University of Malaya. So, Professor Kula, what's your point of view on this doctor-patient relationship?
I thought I got a presentation.
Yes, sure. Yes, sure. Yes, sure, go ahead.
That's what I came to understand. Can I have 15 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. The doctor-patient relationships that finally go to court and why they go to court. These are my personal opinions, and that makes sense. The reason is that you don't deal with the patient's grievances properly, and that's what happens. First thing you can do, you'll be reported to the Pagara. Second, the patient will go to the press. Thirdly, they will complain to the Malayan Medical Council. And the worst, they sue you. So if you don't deal with the patient's grievance properly. Okay, next. Why do patients who finally go to the court or complain to the MMC or whatever? You, those in law, who have done law, you know the basis of negligence is failure of duty of care. And that's exactly what runs through the patient's mind when he decided to sue, because you have failed in your duty of care to me. And that is why she is going to sue. So how do you deal with it? Next. The only way important is you must understand when something goes wrong. What goes through the patient's mind, what goes through. And that will happen to anything, even to yours. The moment your boyfriend or your girlfriend leaves you, this is exactly what will go through your mind. When your father dies in the hospital, this is what will go through your mind. The first thing that will happen to you, there will be shock, disbelief. Impossible. I sent my father just yesterday, today you tell me he's going to die. Shock. They cannot believe it. He was so healthy yesterday, today you tell me he's going to die. And they will say, cannot be. That is the first thing. It can last minutes, hours, days. Next. That, once she passes through that phase, she will go to acute anguish and guilt. Why did I bring my wife to University Hospital? He told me to bring to Subang Jaya, I brought her to University Hospital. So there will be guilt. Next. If guilt, that she passes through guilt, that doesn't work, the father is still ill, they will bargain. And you will bargain. And who do you bargain with? You bargain with God. And that's what the patient will do. They bargain with God. If that doesn't work, it goes on to the next phase. Anger. They go through the anger phase. Angry with everybody, angry with doctor, angry with himself, angry with everyone. But the main thing will be directed is at the doctor. And that's why in his mind, you all know the doctrine of Ipsa. It means the facts speak for itself. He was healthy yesterday, today he's dead. Something must have gone wrong. You must have done something wrong. Yes. If that doesn't pass us through the anger phase, he will go to depression. And you will undergo depression. Once the depression goes, how long it will last, it depends on the person's fortitude. Next. Finally, there will be resolution, acceptance, and life will go on. And what you must appreciate next is that they go through all these phases. Sometimes they can come from shock to anger or to depression. But the worst is what will happen later on. This one will go back to anger, and that is why the lawsuit comes about 2-3 months later. Why? Somebody has instigated them. The patient say, one night, great doctor beside their house will say, no, it should not have been done. Why did he do this? Why did the doctors do that? They will jump to anger, and that's when the lawsuit starts, or the complaint damage starts. Next slide. You know what's your problem as a doctor? Fear, frightened, fear, the patient is angry. Your professional reputation is at stake. What will others say? Next, fear of strong emotions from patients. They can be aggressive. I have come cases where the relatives have actually punched the doctors. You know deep down you have made a mistake, shame, fear, doubt. What do? You become defensive. You want to ask questions, you become defensive. Next. And this is what happens. This is the Blue in Annals of Internal Medicine. This is a very experienced medico-legal lawyer. In over 25 years of representing both physician and patients, it became apparent that a large percentage of patient dissatisfaction was generated by physician attitude and denial rather than the negligence itself. Next. Close to half of the malpractice cases could have been avoided through disclosure or apology. What the patients wanted was simply an honest explanation of what happened and, if appropriate, an apology. Remember, an apology is not an admission of liability. It is not. Next. Look at this interesting study that was done. Lessons from plaintiff deposition. What they did. They got all the lawyers, got all the writs and the deposition, and they studied what instigated the litigation. First, not understanding the patient's or family's perspective in 13%. Failure to solicit the opinion. Inattention to patient's discomfort. Failure to recognize the psychological impact. Very, very important. The psychological impact. Next. Poor delivery of information in 26%. That is what initiated the litigation. Failure to provide an explanation. Failure to keep them up to date. Blaming the patient for the outcome. Some doctors blame. It was surprised. I know of one case I was involved in. It was a case of shoulder dystocia. Let me explain what shoulder dystocia is. If the baby is very big, sometimes the head comes out, but the shoulder gets stuck. When you pull too hard, injuries can occur to the nerve. That's what happened. And it came out in evidence in court that this doctor had said, you produce a King Kong. Can you imagine the patient's reaction? King Kong. That's why you produce a King Kong, so big, how say, what can I do? Be very careful with the words you use. Next slide. Devaluing the patient's views in 30%. Discounting the patient's explanation. Not listening to the patient at all. Just listen to them. Let them say what they want to say. Next. Desertion, 32%. Perceived as unavailable. Abandoned. The patient felt abandoned. Physician too important. Sending a surrogate. That means when you become a doctor, there's a problem, you face it yourself. Don't send the houseman. That's what happened. The ministry of send the houseman. Go and explain. I'm going to go and play golf. That's what happened. Next. Look at the statements made. They didn't tell me nothing. They didn't say nothing after they moved in to the ground floor. They just scattered. If you ask for a doctor, they never showed up. They were really nasty to us throughout the whole thing. They just never seemed to care. The doctor was very angry and bitter from being disturbed. He said, I told my secretary